Images. The baby's wails pierced through the silence of the cabin, turning heads and furrowing brows. Passengers sighed, rolled their eyes, and mumbled complaints under their breath. Images. The young woman in the first-class seat was trying her best, rocking, humming, and whispering desperate pleas. But nothing worked. Images. Her perfectly polished image as a CEO was slipping with every cry. She looked exhausted, her shoulders trembling. Then, from economy class, a man stood up. Rough hands, worn jacket, tired eyes. Images. A single dad. What he did next made the entire plane fall silent. No one could have imagined how this one flight would change 2 lives forever. Images. The morning had already been hard on the woman. Ava Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Tech. Her world was built on control and precision, yet here she was, completely helpless at 3rd Eve Zalozan feet. Images. With her 7-month-old son, Noah, crying uncontrollably. Her assistant had canceled at the last minute, and this flight to New York was crucial. A merger that could make or break her company. Images. She'd spent weeks preparing, but right now she couldn't even calm her own child. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep. Her hair, once sleek and styled, now clung to her temples. Images. The baby's cries echoed louder, and with every passing second, her confidence cracked a little more. A flight attendant came over, forcing a polite smile. "Ma'am." "Maybe tried." "I have tried," Ava snapped before catching herself. "I'm sorry." He won't stop." Passengers began whispering. Someone muttered, "Images. Why do people bring babies on planes?" Another sighed loudly in frustration. Ava's chest tightened. Her reputation meant everything, but right now, she was just a mother. Alone, judged. Imogen, desperate. That's when a voice came from behind. "Excuse me, miss, may I try?" Ava turned, startled. The man standing there looked out of place in first class. Calloused hands. Denim jacket, a quiet calm in his expression. He carried himself like someone who had faced storms and survived. She blinked. "You want to hold my baby?" He nodded with a gentle smile. "Images. I've got a little one myself. Used to cry like this every night." Images. Sometimes it's not about stopping the cry. It's about letting them feel safe. The flight attendant hesitated but stepped aside. Ava, desperate, handed Noah over. Images. The man cradled the baby against his chest and began humming a soft tune. Not a song you'd find in lullaby books, but something old, something human. The rhythm was steady. Images. His hand patting the baby's back gently. Within minutes, the cries softened. The cabin, once full of annoyance, fell into stunned silence. Noah's eyes fluttered, and soon, he was asleep, peaceful, trusting, resting against a stranger. Ava stared in disbelief. "How did you?" The man smiled, sitting beside her now. "I'm Jake. My daughter, Emily." Images. Used to cry for hours. After her mom passed, it got worse. "I guess I just learned to listen to what she wasn't saying." For the rest of the flight, Jake helped with Noah feeding. Images. Rocking, even joking softly. Ava found herself laughing for the first time in weeks. The businessman across the aisle who'd complained earlier now offered to fetch a bottle. Images. The tension melted away. When they landed, Ava felt an unfamiliar ache as Jake handed Noah back. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved me today." But Jake smiled, brushing it off. Images. You would have done the same for someone else. But Ava wasn't so sure. She'd built her empire on rules, not kindness. Yet, images. Something about Jake's quiet strength stayed with her long after the flight. Weeks passed. The merger meeting came and went. But she couldn't stop thinking about that flight. Images. About how a stranger's compassion had reminded her what really mattered. One afternoon, as she stepped into her office, her assistant handed her a visitor card. "It's a Mr. Jacob Miller." Images. "Says you told him to stop by." Ava frowned, confused, then saw him through the glass door. Same denim jacket, same calm eyes. Her heart skipped. Images. She hadn't told him to come, but maybe fate had. Jake stepped in, holding a small package. "Hey, I didn't mean to intrude." Images. "I just wanted to return something." Inside the box was a baby blanket. Noah's. "You left it on the plane," he said. "Figured your little man might miss it." Ava smiled, touched. Images. "You could have mailed it." He shrugged. "Thought I'd see how you two were doing." That day stretched into coffee. Coffee turned into long talks about life, about parenting. Images about the walls they both had built to survive. Ava shared how she'd grown up proving herself in boardrooms, where compassion was seen as weakness. Jake shared how love had made him strong, images not soft. Over time their worlds began to blend. Her suits and his simplicity, her city skyline and his quiet sunsets. Ava found herself watching Jake with Noah, images, realizing something she hadn't dared admit: success wasn't about power, it was about peace. Months later, on another flight, this time together, Noah fussed again. Jake took him gently, images humming the same old tune. Ava leaned her head against his shoulder, whispering, "You know, that song saved me too." Jake smiled. Sometimes, images, all someone needs is to know they're not alone. And as the plane soared above the clouds, the once lonely CEO finally found what she'd been chasing all her life. Not control, images. Not status, but a home in someone's heart. The baby who cried nonstop had unknowingly written the beginning of a new story. One built not in boardrooms, but in love, loss, and second chances. Ava smiled, shaking her head. "Hard to believe I'm the same woman who nearly lost hers that day." Jake leaned back, eyes warm. "You've changed. The Ava I met on that flight was all business. This one," he paused, studying her. "She's human." That word, human, hit her deeper than any compliment. For so long, images. She had lived as if her worth was defined by her company, by headlines, by how many deals she could close before dinner. But, since Jake came into her life, the noise had started to fade. Images. She still worked hard. She always would. But now she went home to laughter, bedtime stories, and the feeling of Noah's small fingers clutching hers. Still, images. Something inside her whispered a fear she couldn't shake. As the flight continued, Ava glanced at Jake. "Images. Do you ever wonder if two worlds like ours can really fit together?" The Jake looked out the window, then at her. "Every day, images. But I also know, people don't fit because they're the same. They fit because they choose to stay." Ava bit her lip, the truth of his words sinking deep. Images. She had seen her parents' marriage crumble under ambition, seen love turn into silence. She didn't want that. But Jake, he was different. Images. He wasn't impressed by her wealth or her title. He saw her, not her image. When they landed, Jake carried Noah as they walked through the terminal. Images. A few people turned their heads. A powerful CEO in designer heels walking beside a man in a worn denim jacket. But Ava didn't care. She felt lighter. Outside, as they waited for their car. "Images." Jake handed Noah back and smiled. "He's growing fast." "You're doing great, Ava." She looked at him for a moment, then asked softly, "Images. Why did you really help me that day?" Jake's eyes glimmered with emotion. "Because once, I was the one everyone stared at. My daughter was crying on a flight after her mom passed. Images. I was lost. I just wanted to pay it forward." Tears pricked at Ava's eyes. "And you did. More than you know." That evening, back at Ava's home, Noah was asleep in his crib. Images. And the city lights shimmered outside her window. Jake stood beside her, silent for a while, then said, "You know, I think you're scared to let someone take care of you." Ava turned to him, caught off guard. "I don't need anyone to take care of me." He smiled gently. "I know, Images, but maybe you deserve it anyway." Or her breath hitched. It wasn't petty in his voice. It was love, quiet and real. And in that moment, Images. She realized how tired she was of fighting everything alone. Jake reached out, brushing a stray hair from her face. "I'm not here to fix you, Ava. Just to walk with you." Ava felt her defenses crumble. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Then we'll learn together." They stood there in silence. Images. The city below alive with noise, but between them peace. Months turned into seasons. Ava and Jake built something slow, steady, and strong. Images. Their weekends were no longer filled with board meetings, but with picnics in the park. Small moments that mattered more than any deal ever could. Images. Noah's first words came one spring afternoon. He said, "Dada," reaching for Jake. Ava's heart swelled, tears spilling before she could stop them. Later that night, she whispered, "He called you that." Jake smiled, eyes glistening. "He can call me whatever he wants. He's my boy too now." And for the first time, Ava didn't correct him. Images. She didn't remind him that she was a CEO, that she had a brand to protect. She simply let her heart agree. Because love wasn't about image or titles. It was about moments like this. A year later, they took another flight. The same airline, the same route. The flight attendant recognized Ava immediately. "You're the one from that viral video?" she said. Ava blinked in surprise. "Video?" The attendant smiled. "Someone recorded it. The man helping you calm your baby. Millions watched it. Images. People said it gave them hope." Ava turned to Jake, speechless. He chuckled softly. "Guess our little Noah became famous before we did." Ava laughed, her eyes misting. "No. Images. He just reminded the world that kindness still matters." As the plane ascended through golden clouds, Noah slept peacefully in Jake's arms again. Ava rested her head on his shoulder, Images smiling as the city disappeared below. Once, she'd boarded a plane broken, overwhelmed, and alone. Now, Images. She was flying toward something far more powerful than success. A life built on love, gratitude, and second chances. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, Images, painting warm stripes across the room. Ava stirred awake to the sound of gentle laughter. She turned and smiled. Jake was sitting on the floor, still in his t-shirt, Images, building a small tower of colorful blocks with Noah, who giggled every time it fell. For a long moment, she just watched them. The man who had once been a stranger on a plane, Images, now a part of her every morning, every breath. Life had changed in ways she never thought possible. She still ran Reynolds Tech, but with a new heart. Images. Her office now had a framed photo of Jake and Noah beside her computer. A reminder of what truly mattered. She'd even started a company policy, allowing parents flexible work hours, Images. Inspired by what she had gone through that day on the flight. But with happiness came something else too. Fear. That afternoon, she sat in a board meeting when her assistant rushed in. Images. "Ava, there's something you should see." On her phone screen was a headline splashed across business news sites. Images. Reynolds Tech CEO's secret relationship. Single mom's new life with blue collar dad. Ava's heart sank. The photos were of her Jake and Noah in the park. Laughing. Images. Eating ice cream, completely unaware they'd been photographed. The room went silent. One board member cleared his throat. "Ava, this could affect the merger talks." Images. "The investors might not like this kind of attention." Her pulse raced. The old Ava, the one who lived by power and control, would have immediately gone into damage control. But she wasn't that woman anymore. She stood tall. "I'm not hiding my family to please investors," she said firmly. "If they can't respect who I am outside this office, Images, then they don't deserve to do business with me inside it." The silence was heavy, but this time, it was her silence. One born of strength, not fear. That evening, she came home drained. Jake was waiting by the door, reading the same article. "I saw it," he said softly. "I'm sorry. This must be hard for you." Ava shook her head. "No, Images. I've been running from who I am for too long. They can write what they want. I won't apologize for being happy." Jake smiled, pride shining in his eyes. "Images. That's my girl." She laughed, stepping into his arms. "You always know what to say, don't you?" He kissed her forehead. "Images. Only because you taught me what matters." But the world wasn't done testing them. A week later, Ava received an offer. A position in London. Images. Leading one of the biggest tech expansions in the industry. It was her dream project, the kind of opportunity that only came once in a lifetime. Images. But it meant moving across the world for at least a year. That night, she sat on the balcony with Jake, watching city lights shimmer like distant stars. He broke the silence first. "Images, a London, huh?" She sighed. "It's everything I've worked for. But I don't want to lose this." Jake leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Ava, Images. I'll never be the reason you give up on your dreams. But if you go, make sure it's because you want to. Not because you're afraid to stay." But she looked at him. Images. Eyes full of conflict. "And if I go, will you wait?" Jake smiled softly. "You already know the answer." 2 months later, she boarded another plane. This time alone. Images. But not lonely. She left Noah with Jake for the first few months, promising to visit often. It broke her heart, but she knew she had to do this. Not for her career, Images, but to prove to herself that she could follow her dreams without losing love along the way. The distance was hard. Long nights, video calls, Noah waving through the screen. Images. Jake's tired but reassuring smile. Still, their love didn't fade, it deepened. Then, one rainy evening in London, as Ava wrapped up a major presentation, her phone buzzed. It was a video from Jake. She pressed play. Noah, now walking, toddled toward the camera with a big grin and said, "Mama, come home?" Tears filled her eyes instantly. Images. That was all she needed. 3 days later, she landed back home. At the airport, Jake stood with Noah on his shoulders, waving. She dropped her bags and ran straight into his arms. Images, laughing and crying all at once. "I'm home," she whispered. Jake held her close. "You always were." Months later, images. They stood together in a small park under the setting sun, the same place their first photo had been taken. Jake bent down on one knee, holding a simple silver ring. "I don't have fancy words," he said. "You already have the world. I just want to be the man who makes it feel like home." Ava's eyes filled with tears. Images. "You already are." She said yes. The crowd around them clapped, but in that moment, the world disappeared. Years later, when Noah was old enough to understand, Images Ava told him the story. How one crying baby on a plane changed everything. And as she tucked him into bed that night, he asked, "Mama, Images, what would have happened if Daddy didn't stand up that day?" Ava smiled through tears. "Then I guess we'd still be flying in circles." Images, waiting for someone brave enough to listen to the cry. He giggled, snuggling his blanket. "Good thing he did." She kissed his forehead. "Good thing he did." Outside, images. The night sky stretched wide and peaceful, a reminder of that one flight, the moment a baby's cry became the sound of fate calling two lost souls home. And from that day on, images. Ava never feared turbulence again, because she knew that sometimes, life's roughest flights lead you exactly where you're meant to land.